there was a threat to my family. The Israeli government and Netanyahu himself tried to punish 2 members of my family. I won't be more specific, but actually punish 2 members of my family because he has said in public many times, believes in blood guilt. Amalek.
Is Tucker Carlson registered as an agent of the Qatari government? Not that I'm aware of. So Tucker Carlson is actually a criminal and should be taken to court, sentenced, and appropriately punished.
This man was arrested in the United States in 1985 for spying on the U.S. government and sending that information to Israel. And he remained in prison for decades, and he had the audacity to call Tucker Carlson a foreign agent. Tucker Carlson went on Megyn Kelly's show today to talk about the possibility of regime change in Iran. Let's take a quick listen, see what Tucker had to say.
In the case of our current president, he doesn't want to do this. He may not have a choice, actually, because Israel has said, if you don't join us, we're going to do it anyway. Move unilaterally, possibly with nuclear weapons, which they have, and they've threatened that before. And everyone pretends that's not true. It is true. They threatened it in 1973. I believe they threatened it subsequently. If you don't backstop us, if you don't defend us, help us, send us armaments, send your aircraft carriers to the region, give us missile defense, we'll have no choice but to use nukes.
Look, you guys, this whole thing, John Kiriakou said the same thing that Tucker's saying right now, saying that Israel's basically threatening to use nukes or go all out if the U.S. doesn't join in. And you know what the appropriate response should be from the U.S.? The appropriate response from the U.S. should be, we know you wouldn't do that, you know, offer a little threat for added spice if you want, Donald Trump. We know you wouldn't do that. That'd be a grave mistake for you. And first of all, Israel letting that genie out of the bottle, I don't think they would actually do it. Could be wrong, but I don't think they would actually do it. Now, because if they do that, I mean, what's gonna be left of Israel within like 24 hours? Not much, right? If they decide to go to war with Iran alone, without any U.S. support, and I'm not talking U.S. airstrikes, I'm talking no U.S. logistics, no refueling, no nothing, no air defense, no nothing. They can't do anything. So what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Try it. See how it goes, Israel. You know, that should be the response from the U.S. That's why I do not buy this whole thing of like, oh, Trump, they're gonna do something crazy if Trump doesn't get in there. Well, okay, I don't believe that. What I do possibly believe is that Trump has maybe the thought that comes across his mind that maybe he'll be killed if he doesn't do it. That's a possibility. You know, I think that the only thing that I would believe is that if you look at Trump's entire life, this guy is not some ideological hardcore Zionist. He's not ideologically hardcore about anything. So is he acting under duress? That is the only thing I could possibly see. Otherwise, I think that he's just got a lot of people around him that he put there himself with the help of Miriam Adelson. He took the money, he made his bed, now he's got to sleep in it, and he put those people around him, and, you know, they're all telling him one thing, that this is a great thing to go to war against Iran, and we're going to win so bigly, and nothing bad's going to happen. So, you know, make of this what you will.
Against our enemies. And nobody wants that because it could set off a third world war, a nuclear third world war. So that is their trump card. They've played it before. I believe they are at least implying it now. They are playing it in effect now. And so it leaves the administration with like how many choices? If they say they're going to do it, then the best you can do, I guess, is to try to constrain them by shaping what they're doing. Okay, we'll participate, but we're going to set some of the boundaries here. I mean, I do think that's the thinking. That is my impression. No one's told me that explicitly, but it's pretty obvious. But I would just say there is another option that no one in Washington ever seems to consider, which is constraining our client state and saying, look, for our sake, and by the way, also for yours, no. If you allow people who are dependent on you to treat you like this, it doesn't end well. If you allow your children to scream the F word in your face at dinner, it's bad for you, but it's also bad for them. Because
what Tucker's saying is that if Israel says they're going to use a nuke on Iran, if the U.S. doesn't join in and provide, you know, full support, SAR, then Trump, I guess this is what he's saying, that Trump should just say, hey, look, you want to use a nuke on Iran? and a war we don't want, and a war we want nothing to do with, we're not going to support you in, we're prepared to use a nuke on you. Is that what he's saying? Is that what he's saying? I'm asking. I'm just asking, you guys. I'm just asking. I totally would not support that at all. I'm just asking a question. Fair question, maybe. Anyways, it is amazing to me that Tucker is saying stuff like this, given the fact that the last time someone told Trump to his face that they should not go to war against Iran, they ended up with a bullet in their neck. Also worth noting that Tucker Carlson just did the most damning public humiliation of U.S. Ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee, that I think I've ever seen in my life. And they tried to actually use Tucker to bring him into the country. He didn't leave the airport. They wanted him to come into the country, apparently, so they could do some sort of like Hasbara operation involving him. Tucker Carlson told the Daily Mail that he and his staff had been detained in Israel following their interview of U.S. Ambassador Mike Huckabee. Max Blumenthal said the Israeli regime had planned a Hasbara ambush for Tucker Carlson, but it looks like he preempted it. I'm sure he would have stayed for an interview with Netanyahu, but Bibi rarely meets with adversarial journalists, even if they're the most popular broadcaster in the United States. We also got this, of course. Everyone knows that Tucker and his team were stopped. Apparently, they were telling Tucker, like, oh, just go to the airplane. Like, after they stopped him, they took him in. They took his producer in. They had a cameraman there and a young guy, and they, like, weren't letting him go. And they're like, Tucker and your producer, go to the plane and everything will be fine. We'll let him go in a little bit. And they wanted to do something with that cameraman, I guess. They were holding him, and Tucker was like, no, I'm not leaving until he is on the plane with me. Okay? So listen to this. This just goes to show how insane our allies are. And I say our allies because Ukraine also tried to plant a bomb underneath Tucker Carlson's minivan while he was in Moscow for his meeting and interview with Russian President Vladimir Putin. This was stopped by the FSB, but at the, what hotel did he stay at? I think he stayed at the Four Seasons, or the Seasons now it's called. They caught them putting a IED explosive below the vehicle that Tucker Carlson was driving in. And this guy got paid like, what, $4,000 to do it. And now we hear this about how Israel, specifically Netanyahu, is treating Tucker Carlson and his family, another one of our quote unquote allies.
Really pushed hard for this meeting, and I called a lot of people who know him and who are in regular contact with him. In fact, I went to go see some of those people directly. Please, can you help me get a sit down for 5 minutes with Benjamin Netanyahu? And I probably called or met with 6, 7, 8, maybe more people on this question. People in official capacities, people in the Israeli government. I know a number of people in the Israeli government, people in Israel, a friend of mine in California who knows him. I mean, I really tried. And I did so for 2 reasons. One, because there was a threat to my family. The Israeli government and Netanyahu himself tried to punish 2 members of my family. I won't be more specific, but actually punish 2 members of my family because he has said in public many times, believes in blood guilt, Amalek. You know, when someone commits a crime against you, you punish not just him, but his family, his bloodline. There's no idea that's less Western than that, more anti-Christian than that. Christians reject that. Netanyahu doesn't. That's why he's talking about Amalek. And he was going after my family, literally. So I felt very threatened by that. But moreover, I think it's bad for my country to have people using that kind of language. Round them up, bring them to the camps, gas chambers, Nazis, anti-Semitism. It scares the heck out of people. It makes people crazy and hysterical. And certainly in my case, none of that is true. I hate collective punishment. I hate attacking people on the basis of their bloodline. I hate anti-Semitism and anti-white racism and all of this, or any kind of racism, period. And I've said that a lot. So using that kind of language against someone who is not fundamentally your enemy, who just, in my case, I want Christians in areas controlled by Israel to be treated with dignity, to have rights, and I don't want the U.S. government involved in a war, a regime change war with Iran.
Well, those things, Christians being treated with dignity and regime change war with Iran being opposed, those are very anti-Semitic. Laura Loomer has educated me. They are very anti-Semitic. So, I guess I understand what the hubbubaloo is all about, Tucker Carlson, Tucker in this interview, what was so incredible about the interview was that not that like it was very, it was like ambush. It was like catching him off guard, the U.S. ambassador to Israel. Tucker just asked some like very basic questions, let the ambassador speak at length, and the U.S. ambassador to Israel sounded more like the Israeli foreign minister than the Israeli foreign minister does. That's how cucked he is. Okay. And also worth noting that one of the questions that Tucker asked was about Jonathan Pollard. Max Blumenthal writes, in response to his first question from Tucker, Mike Huckabee lied about the nature of his long-standing relationship with Israeli mega spy Jonathan Pollard, insinuating they'd only met twice at random, when in fact Huckabee had been advocating for Pollard's release from prison since 2011. Huckabee seemed ready for the issue to be brought up, however. To emphasize his confidence, he even praised Tucker for being the first reporter to ask him about the controversy surrounding his latest meeting with Pollard at the U.S. Embassy in Jerusalem. The meeting was conducted in secret and leaked by U.S. intel to the New York Times. In doing so, Huckabee inadvertently confirmed that the U.S. media has done little to nothing to scrutinize his subversive, flagrantly Israel-first activities as ambassador, or to interrogate the fanatical Christian Zionist ideology animating his behavior. And now that one internationally famous journalist has actually done their job, Huckabee is crashing out. Crashing out he is. Here's Netanyahu giving a hero's welcome to the man that was in prison in America for spying on the U.S. government and giving top secret intel to Israel. He was born in America, and this is Jonathan Pollard. Okay? American was jailed in the U.S. in 1985 for spying for Israel, and he was released into Israel, released from prison, sent to Israel, and spying on the U.S. government. So, born in America, actual spy, admits to it and says that all Zionists should do that. Whatever country you live in, you should spy for Israel. Like he's a proud supporter of this idea of doing what he did. He views his cause as still a good one and one that Zionists all across the world should participate in. And he had the audacity after the Tucker Carlson Huckabee interview to call Tucker Carlson a foreign agent. This man was arrested in the United States in 1985 for spying on the U.S. government and sending that information to Israel. And he remained in prison for decades. And he had the audacity to call Tucker Carlson a foreign agent.
Now, if he wants to deny that, then he should open up his records. And let's see if he's been taking any money from Qatar. My sources say he is, which makes him an agent of influence. Is Tucker Carlson registered as an agent of the Qatari government? Not that I'm aware of. So Tucker Carlson is actually a criminal and should be taken. I would first like to see any money from Qatar. My sources say he is, which makes him an agent of influence. Is Tucker Carlson registered as an agent of the Qatari government? Not that I'm aware of. So Tucker Carlson is actually a criminal and should be taken to court, sentenced, and appropriately punished.
Amazing. Amazing. The man who actually did it, as far as we know, for free. He was spying for Israel just for the love of the game, and he was in prison for decades, is now calling Tucker Carlson an agent because he had the audacity to ask one question to the U.S. ambassador to Israel about his very rosy relationship with Jonathan Pollard, an Israeli spy who subversively acted against our own sovereign interests in America while he was an American citizen. Can't make it up. Before you leave, I want to say thank you for the support, because after 2 years of being banned, we are finally back home on YouTube. So be sure to subscribe to our channel and also join as a member on our channel using the link at the top of the description. I rely on the generous support of viewers like yourself to get the truth out to as many people as possible. You can also support the show on Locals or Give Sin Go. The mainstream media and the powers that be are never going to stop attacking us for bringing the truth to as many people as we we do. Thank you so much for your support.